Hello guys, today I will be teaching you guys how to tie a woolly bugger. This is a very versatile pattern. There's all kinds of different ways to tie it, from the more classic way to different weight ideas. This has lead eyes, and this just throws away the hackle and uses soft hackle. Little change, big difference. It's very easy to tie streamer pattern. There's millions of variations. It works really well, and it's nice and simple. So, for the beginner fly tiers, here's how to tie a woolly bugger. To start off, you will need a hook. I'm using a size 12 4x long hook. This is a little bit bigger. Normally I tie size 12 with a 2x or 3x length, but for a tutorial video it's easiest to go big, and I'll definitely use it for bass. Woolly buggers work on just about everything. After the hook, I'm going to put a little glass bead on it. You can use a tungsten bead or no bead, depending on how heavy you want. A glass bead takes it down moderately fast. Tungsten bead will make it sink pretty fast, but will be a little harder to cast. And no bead doesn't sink super fast. Pretty simple. After that, we'll need some chenille, some copper wire, of course, marabou for the tail, thread. I mixed my words. String and thread, and hackle. Now you can use tri-fly hackle, which works just fine. You can use saddle hackles. You can use hen hackles. They all work great, but today I'm going to just use tri-fly hackle. So to start this, I'm going to take the hook out of the vise and put a bead on it. Sometimes this is a little hard, especially these streamer hooks. This bead just doesn't want to go on. Never mind, I'm gonna go find a different bead. I'm back with a bead, finally. I get my beads from the craft store, and they're not all the same size. So, take your hook, let's see if I can make this a bit more visible. Slide the hook into the bead, let it go to the front. Put it back in your vise, make sure it's nice and tight. Okay, I'm gonna focus this in hopefully a little bit better on the hook, and we'll start the tie. There we go. Straighten up my bobbin quick. I'm not left-handed. I set this whole thing up with the vise on the wrong side. Okay. Not hard to fix. We will just turn it around. Okay. Focus it back there again. Anyways. Okay, now that I'm ready, we'll start with thread wraps. I stick the thread up, go around, flip it down, and start doing wraps over your thread to lock it down. Once you've got it a little ways down, take a pair of scissors, trim it. My scissors aren't sharp. Wrap over where you trimmed, and then do tight wraps back over everything you just wrapped. That secures it down pretty well. Your bead will be floppy for the first little bit, but once you got material behind it, it'll be good. It won't move around. Next, we'll tie in our marabou tail. Now when you're measuring for a tail, you want it approximately the same length as your hook. It's a good measurement. So we'll wrap our thread wraps all the way back to where the hook starts to bend. Make a little bump there. Take our marabou feather, measure it. Doesn't have to be perfect. Set it on top. Transition hands. Take one loop up over doesn't have to be tight. Make sure you've got it well positioned, and then pull tight and make your tight wraps. This will help it keep from moving too much while you're tying it in. Okay, got the tail. I'm going to snip this off. Oops. Where does it still hold? Oh, there it is. Right there. And then tie in all this extra stuff. Now, it doesn't have to be clean, so that'll all get covered over. Just make sure it's nice and tight. Next, we'll take our wire, trim off a piece about, I'd say that's 4 inches. Trim it, and we're gonna tie it into the side facing us. Same idea, loose wrap, get it in position, tighten it, and then do your tight wraps to lock it down. Wind your thread back up, and we'll tie in the chenille. You can use dubbing, but chenille works faster, and it gives you a more even fly at the end. Cut off about, I'd say that's 3.5 inches of chenille. I don't know. My length estimates aren't very exact. Strip a little bit from the front so it leaves you with a, I don't know if this will focus very well. I don't know how well you can see it, but there's a little bit of string hanging out in front of the fuzz. Lay that down. Carefully trap it with a loose wrap. Tighten and wind it down. Now wind all your thread back up to the bead. From here, you just take it and do wraps. They aren't quite touching, like the thread isn't quite touching, but the material just kind of melts into itself. I think I underestimated the chenille. Yeah. Wrap a little bit forward. I'm gonna trap this. Pull it tight. Snip it off. Come on. And add a small little piece. Don't worry if you have any pieces like this. It's better to have leftover chenille than to be short. But I didn't calculate right, so let's get the last bit in. Hate working with short pieces. There we go. Get it around, trap it with a loose wrap, pull down on your bobbin to tighten it, wind it around, and trim it off. Okay, you've got your basic body. There isn't quite any bulk to it yet or anything. You've still got a piece of copper wire there. Now we measure our hackle. Now, the problem I see with most beginner fly tyers when they use hackle is you just go, that looks right, plug it off, tie it on. You're not gonna get a good perfect fly that way. I mean, you might be lucky, but most likely not. So, find the one that you think will fit. Bend it around. Nope, too small. You want it to be, on this hook, it'd be twice the width of the hook gap. So on a standard fly, on a standard hook, it would be the width of the hook gap. And the hook gap is the space between the point and the shank. So let's go further up on our cape and test this one. This one is tall enough. Just grab it at the base, oops, and plug it out. Easy. Now, we're gonna tie it like this to the front. You want the shiny side. There's two sides. There's a shiny side and a drab side of the feather. The shiny side curves in towards the more drab side. You want the shiny side facing forward, so if you're tying to do your wraps away from you, then you also want the shiny side away from you, so it's on the front side. Trim your feather to just be in front of the super webby part. That gives you the better fibers. And then pull some of the fibers off so that it's more like this. I'm not sure why this won't focus. Come on, focus. A little bit off the top. Tie it in with good tight wraps right behind the bead. Bring your thread in front of it and then leave your thread. Now there's two things you can do. You can wind it by hand, palmer it, that's the actual term, or you can use a pair of hackle pliers. Not everybody's going to have hackle pliers, so I'm just going to wind it by hand. Take it, wind it away from you, close wraps, do the first two side by side. That gives you bulk in the front. Then work yourself down the shank of the hook. Try to keep the gaps in between even. They'll just help you keep a more even fly. Then you get to the end right here. Make sure you don't let go of this. Take your copper wire, send it over the tip of your hackle, pull it nice and tight to trap it. Second wrap, and then now you're going to be wrapping the opposite way that you wrap back with the hackle. And that really makes sure the hackle doesn't come loose. Wiggle your wire as you make your wraps towards the front, and that'll help keep the hackle from getting trapped down into the body. Make sure you do these wraps nice and tight so they don't come loose later. Once you get to the front of the fly, take your thread, catch the wire, make sure you don't have anything trapped in it, pull it down nice and tight, and give it a couple thread wraps. Okay, now that's nice and secure. I always just trim it off, like that. Some people like to helicopter it, but I don't. Come back to your back and trim the little extra bit right there. Don't trim it too close to the copper wire. You don't want it escaping. Just a little tab is good. Now, make sure you've got some good tight wraps to make the head. Makes it nice and durable. Then you finish with a whip finish tool. So I always struggled with a whip finish tool. So to make it easier, pull the thread down, take 2 fingers, make a loop, and do a half hitch knot right at the front of the fly. Okay? That helps me keep from losing my line while I'm doing the whip finish knot. Then you take your whip finisher, you hook the little front end into your thread like this, bring your thread behind the little knob in the back, pull some line out, twist, and it makes a triangle. Wrap the triangle like this. As you get better, you'll get faster. I'm going nice and slow so you can see. Push the front up, let it come off the bottom, and then pull your thread and let it come off the top. Pull it nice and tight, and then trim off your thread. Trim off any extra fibers that don't want to go back either. And there you go. There's a very simple, really easy woolly booger. And know for a fact that these guys work really well. I want this focus. Yeah, you'll see a better picture. Yeah, hope you enjoyed the tie. If you like these kinds of videos, feel free to subscribe. I plan on doing a couple more videos on more simple flies for beginners, just to help you understand some of the concepts for fly tying so that you can get into the bigger, more complicated ties that I personally find more interesting and fun. But woolly buggers will always have their place in the fly fisherman's tackle box, so it's a good thing to learn. Hope you enjoyed. If you have any ideas on I lost my idea. Yeah, I was going to ask you about ideas for something, but I can't remember what my idea was. Anyways, if you liked the video, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe if you want to see any more fly tying, and hopefully in the future some fly fishing content. Enjoy your day.